Good afternoon. Welcome everyone to your Johnston County Board of Education school board meeting. We do have a quorum. All 7 board members are in attendance. I would like to start the meeting with our invocation by Teresa Grant and the pledge of allegiance by Vice Chair Dorothy Johnson. May we all stand.
Please bow and Father, we thank you for this opportunity to be here today, Lord. And we just come before you with gratitude as this new school year begins. Father, we ask that you prepare the way for our students as they plan to interact through our school boards, Lord. And we pray that they have retained the knowledge that they need to get a good start in this next school year. Father, we pray that our teachers and staff and use this time to rejuvenate themselves and be ready to greet our students as they walk through the door with a smile and ready to build relationships, Lord, and to help them along the way to become the vision that we have for our JOCO students and graduates. And Father, we just pray that our principals, as lead learners, are ready to welcome the staff and students and encourage them and cheer them on and provide for them whatever they need, Lord, to meet the needs of each. Father, we thank you, Father, for the opportunity for us to serve. We are all grateful and willing to serve in this capacity, Lord, and it's an honor for each of us. And we ask that as we make decisions today, that those decisions are for the good of our students and our staff, Lord, and that all the decisions we make are pleasing to you. And Father, we just humbly ask that you be with us through this meeting and with our students this coming year and staff. And we ask all this in your precious Son, Jesus Christ's name, amen.
Amen. Thank you. I would ask if you would silence your phones. Don't mind them being on, but if you just put them on vibrate, that would be great. Next, we don't have any public comments today. Next on the agenda is approval of the June 27, 2018 special session minutes.
Second. No adjustments.
I would remind everyone you have to press to talk. Ms. Johnson. Dr. Smith.
None.
Butler Hall.
None, sir.
Vice Chair Johnson.
None, sir.
Teresa Grant.
None, sir.
Mr. Sutton.
None, Mr. Chairman.
Entertain a motion to approve the current agenda. Motion by Vice Chair Johnson, second by Ronald Johnson. Any questions? All those in favor? All those opposed? Motion carries 7-0. Comments by the board members, starting with Todd Sutton.
Well, it's great to be back. I know that speaking from a husband of a teacher, yesterday morning came bright and early and had to push her out of bed a little bit, but yesterday afternoon she was very excited about what the school year has to offer. And this morning she had some homework. She had to call me. She failed to finish it, and it was something about what did I think was holding us back from part of our relationship that was getting involved, getting in between us. And I said, "You're working too hard. You're working too much at school." But as a teacher, that's the passion that they have that you can't, I don't believe in any college can put that in a teacher. They either have the passion or they don't have the passion. And that's just part of it. But I just wish everybody a great 2018-2019 school year. My prayer is every day that each and every person that enters Johnston County Public Schools or leaves their driveway is safe to and from school and has a wonderful year. And whatever we can do, we'd be more than happy to assist. But God bless each and every one of our students, staff, and administrators in Johnston County.
Thank you, Mr. Sutton. Ms. Grant?
Well, as I said in the invocation, just ask God's blessing on each. We have some new principals in some new spots, and attended Westview Elementary's Meet the Principal night, and Ms. Mangum was on fire. She said she is there to be a cheerleader, and it was very well attended, and I know that all of our principals throughout the county feel the same way. They are there to cheer everybody on and make things happen, and just wish them all a wonderful new year.
Thank you, Ms. Grant. Vice Chair Johnston?
You're supposed to reach over here and do it. I would like to take the opportunity to wish all of our our employees, the staff, as well as the students, welcome back to school, and they have a safe year and a prosperous year, and everyone will do well for the test program. Thank you.
Thank you, Vice Chair Johnson. Mr. Hall?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'm sure at the beginning of school there's just lots of things going on in the buildings, and principals are hustling to fill spots that still may be open. But my best wishes and my prayers for a successful opening, and for the safety of our students and for our faculty and all our personnel. I would like to mention just very briefly, this summer I was in a conference, and I had an opportunity to meet a woman by the name of Molly Hudgens, who is a middle school counselor in Smyrna, Tennessee. A year and a half ago, she was able to take a loaded 45, and I think it was 3 clips from an 8th grade student who had come to school to have a nose swat, but because of her courage and because of her faith, she was able to deal with this young man over a period of 2 hours, and finally was able to get the gun and the ammunition from the young man, who is now receiving attention at psychiatric facilities. But this woman was just one of the most amazing people that I've ever heard or had a chance to meet, and her testimony, her story, her courage, her love of what she does, and her love of students was just overwhelming, and it was just really an inspiring, awesome opportunity to spend some time with this lady. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Hall. Dr. Smith?
Yes, sir. First of all, welcome back to those who are back, and welcome next week to all who will be coming, week after next, I guess, on the 27th. I had the privilege of hearing Dr. Renfro inspire the leaders of Johnston County Public Schools at the retreat. Principals, assistant principals, central staff, coaches, spilt a cup of coffee and just knocked it right out of Miss Mangum's hands, just made a big mess. But Mr. Bennett Jones came to my rescue, and the first thing we know, it was all cleaned up, and we were all still hugging everybody, so it was okay. But it was a wonderful event, and I really just appreciate Dr. Renfro's leadership and getting this school year off to a great start with all the leaders of our district. I do pray for a safe year, a learning year, and a happy year for our students, staff, principals, central staff, and especially those students who are coming and their families. So God bless all. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Smith. Mr. Johnston.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thankful to be here, and welcome back, everyone. Ready or not, here they come, and here you are. So about 180 more school days, we'll be back in the swing of things of taking beach trips and things like that. But for now, let's get to business. You have things you want to say, but then, I listen to the other 6 board members talk, and just to touch on some things like Mr. Hall was talking about, this incredible guidance counselor. I had the opportunity one time. I'm a hostage negotiator, for those who don't know, and I had the opportunity to do that one time. It's a very unnerving feeling to know that the safety and well-being of someone else is in your hands, and you have to get in there and negotiate that. But I'm thankful that the school board, Dr. Renfro, and the members of the cabinet are doing some things to help our schools become more safe. And I know that the entire board has unanimously supported getting school resource officers in every school, and that's just going to be a benchmark for this part of the state. That is pinnacle for safety, and I want to thank everyone's help and everyone's efforts to make that happen. I also would like to welcome Dr. Paula Coates for her first official day, I guess, with the Board of Education. I am thrilled that she's here. I've heard about some of the work she's done, and we're just blessed to have her sitting in that chair. So thank you all, and look forward to getting the school year started.
Thank you, Mr. Johnson. I appreciate all the board members' comments, and I too am excited about a new school year and the leadership we have in the schools, and our students going into schools that are a lot safer today than they were at the end of school last year. And Mr. Hall brought up a story about the guidance counselor, but taking the gun away or talking the gun away from a student. But it also reminds me that it's about relationships. JOCO 2020, we talk about JOCO 2020 a lot, but it all boils down to relationships. The relationships our board has with our schools and our senior staff, the relationship the superintendent has with the lead learners of the schools, the relationships these lead learners have with the teachers, the relationship the teachers have with students, and the relationship that all our school leaders have with the parents of our taxpayers. And if we show people we care, we can have a whole lot safer schools and a whole lot more learning going on in the school walls. And I appreciate the relationship building that this system has taken over the last 2 years, and we're in our 3rd year, JOCO 2020, Dr. Renfro, and what a great movement going across Johnston County. And I just pray safety over all our students and staff and all our athletes that are playing prior to school starting. I just pray safety over all during this next school year. God bless everybody. With that, let's go into our advisory board appointments. This will take a little while. I think we got half our schools acknowledging great volunteers in their school system, and we'll start this with Ms. Grant.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Principal Maureen Hannahue from Cleveland Elementary recommends reappointment of member Kelly McGonigal for 3 years, term to end in June 2021, and new member appointments of 3 years each for Lindsay Caldwell, Tarkisha Poole, and Amanda Thompson, filling vacant seats, terms to end in June 2021 as well. Principal Christina Benson of Polenta Elementary recommends reappointment of member Jamie Thomas for 3 years, term to end in June 2021, and new member appointments of 3 years each for Donald O'Meara and Tracy Miaduszewski, filling vacant seats, term to end in June 2021 as well.
Thank you, Ms. Grant. We'll let that serve as our motion for advisory board appointments. And with that, motion, we'll move to Dr. Peggy Smith.
Thank you, sir. Principal Kenneth Bennett at Dixon Road Elementary requests a 3-year appointment for Christy Stevenson, filling a vacant seat, term to end June 2021. Principal Stephanie Leonard at McGee's Crossroads Elementary has a reappointment of members Jennifer Miller, Brenda Harley, and Natalie Gurley for 3 years each, terms also ending June 2021. From McGee's Crossroads Middle, Principal Dorlisa Johnston asked for the reappointment of members Miranda Valles, Brenda Harley, and Brandon Evans for 3 years each, terms to end June 2021. And Principal Jennifer Swartz at West Johnston High asked for new members Dwayne Medlin and Heather Pinnica to fill vacant seats, their terms to end June 2021.
Thank you, Dr. Smith. Ronald Johnson.
Yes, sir, Mr. Chairman. At Selma Middle School Principal.
Excuse me, Ronald. That will serve as our second to the motion. Thank you, Dr. Smith. Sorry, Mr. Johnson, go ahead.
No worries. Mr. Chairman, Selma Middle School Principal Mr. Chris Germanowski has requested the reappointment of member Norma Barajas for 3 years, that term to end in June 2021. He also has new member appointments of 3 years for Marinus Betancourt Henley and Mary Betts for filling vacant seats. Those terms to end June 2021. At Smithfield Middle, Principal of the Year Heather Anders, is requesting the reappointment of members Allison Jones and Deborah David for 3 years each, terms to end June 2021. And new member appointment for 3 years, Miss Elizabeth Seepin filling Miss Lori Langdon's seat, that term to end June 2021.
Thank you, Mr. Johnson. Vice Chair Johnson.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I've got it. I have 4. Clayton High School Principal Bennett Jones, reappointment of Honorable Judge Addie Rawls for a 3-year term, which will end in 2021. Chad Hewitt, Principal of Riverdale Elementary, reappointment of member Myron Spells, Melissa Gibson, and Jacqueline Jackhale. Michelle Evans, terms to end in June 2021. Riverwood Elementary Principal Mrs. White has new appointments appointed for a 3-year term for Robin Vaughn, Adam Lindsay, Joshua Quinn, and Melissa Blackman, filling vacant positions, and their term will end 2021. I also have Principal Brian Johnson, Corinth Holder High School, reappointment of member David Satterfield and Allison Boswell, terms to end 2021.
Thank you, Ms. Vice Chair Johnson. Turn it over to Todd Sutton.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Corinth Holders Elementary Principal Dr. Chris Kennedy has new member appointments of 3 years each for Christopher Amon and Faitha Batten, filling vacant seats, terms to end June 2021. Micro Elementary Principal T.J. Parrish has the reappointment of member Art Pittman, term to end June 2021. North Johnston High School Principal Dr. Ben Williams, reappointment of members Eric Boyette, Tim Crocker, Haywood Daughtry, and Peggy Batten, terms to end in June 2021. And North Johnston Middle School new principal, Mr. Kenneth Sumler, new member appointments of 3 years for Amy Evans, filling Ken Crocker's seat, term to end June 2021.
Thank you, Mr. Sutton. Butler Hall.
Mr. Chairman, Kathy Parrish at Four Oaks Elementary is asking for the reappointment of members Eric Westbrook and Jamie Pierce, whose terms will end in June 2021, and Ms. Laura Mackey at South Smithfield Elementary is asking for the reappointment of member Hadley Lee, whose term will end in June 2021. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Hall. I also have Powhatan Elementary, Mr. Kern, new member appointments for 3 years of Katie Collins, Jessica Gonzalez, Jamie Ackley, Megan Matthews, filling vacant seats till 2021. Princeton Elementary, Ms. Hurst a member appointment for 3 years of Eddie Oliver, filling a vacant seat for a term through 2021. And Wilson Mills Elementary, Ms. Jones, new appointment for a 3-year term of Dawn Edmondson, filling a vacant seat through term of June 2021. And also at Wilson Mills Elementary, the reappointment of members Debbie Jacobs, Shannon Macedo, Erica Goodwin, and Deanna Augustine for 3-year terms through the end of terms of June 2021. We have a motion with Teresa Grant and second by Dr. Smith. Entertain a vote for approval of all these members.
So moved.
Second.
Is that, everybody raise your hand for approval. Motion carries 7-0. Dr. Renfro.
Yes, sir, Mr. Chairman. At this time, I would ask that the board approve consent items 6A1A through 6A1S.
You heard the motion. Entertain a motion. Motion by Todd Sutton,
Second.
second by Ronald Johnson. Any questions on these consent agenda items? If not, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, motion carries 7-0.
Mr. Chairman, Lady Vice Chair, members of the board, pursuant to North Carolina General Statute 115D-1-12, it is our board's responsibility to provide positions to the Johnston Community College. Due to the death of Miss Polly Lamberth, there is a vacant position that we need to fill so that we can, someone can fill out the remaining time in Ms. Lamberth's term. So at this time, I can vouch and certify that Ms. Weckerson and I have done as you've instructed, posted the position, and have taken interested names and applications. And so I would submit to our board today the names of Antoine Whidbey, Bud Andrews, and Haywood Watson for your consideration and for you to approve one of these to fill out Ms. Lambert's term.
Entertain a motion.
So moved.
A motion for which,
Like a nomination.
I like a nomination, please.
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to nominate Haywood Watson for this position as trustee at Johnston Community College.
Second.
Have a motion of Haywood Watson as the trustee nominee and a second by Dr. Smith. Any questions?
Can we do any other nominations? I would like to nominate Antoine Whidbey.
Okay, have a nomination on the table.
Second.
Second by Todd Sutton on Anton Whidbey. Any other nominations? All right, we'll vote. We can vote on the separate nominations, correct, Mr. Attorney? We'll vote on the first nomination of Haywood Watson. We have a first by Butler Hall and a second by Dr. Smith. All those in favor, raise your hand. Motion carries 4-3 with the nomination of Haywood Watson. I would like to, Mr. Attorney, do we have to, the nomination that did not, since this passes, all other nomination automatically is off the table, correct? Or do? Okay, on this second nomination of Anton Whidbey, motion by Teresa Grant, second by Todd Sutton. All those in favor, raise your hand. All those opposed, raise your hand. Motion fails to carry with a 3-4 and 4 against. So our nominee would be Haywood Watson, but I would like to make a comment that the 3 nominees we could not make a wrong decision with the 3 applicants that were brought before us. Polly Lamberth was a great nominee that we had on the trustee board. But it's also encouraging to know that we have representation on the college board that represents the demographics of our school system and the student makeup. I think we have another appointment that's coming in 12 months from now. I hope we have the same amount of interest for that position as we have this time. But the three nominees that were presented to us are great people, and the decision that was made today, whether it be any of the three, would have been a great decision. So I appreciate the board's interest in that. With that being said, we'll move on to, where are we at here?
Dr. Coates, items from
Coates,
the
thank
Deputy Superintendent.
Good afternoon, Mr. Board Chair, Madam Vice Chair, board members, Dr. Renfro. Today I have 3 items for you. The first is to approve bid proposals for services provided to students and educational programs for our students. These are contracted proposals, and these are the bids only. The final contract approval would come once the contract has been screened and approved by our board attorney. Do you have any questions about any of those?
Go ahead, Ms. Sutton.
I noticed that the NWEA and Lexia contracts were in here. Just got a few questions on that contract. Is that a 1-year contract or a 3-year contract?
I want to call up, I think there's a 1, but I want to call up Christy Stevenson, who led the committee that worked on this, because she might have a more detailed answer, and I would not want to give you incorrect information. Thank you.
It is a 1-year contract.
Okay, all right. And, you know, Christy, I commend you on all the research and everything that you guys did through Trego Ed, which I sat in on that and figured out how we had to do that. But a lot of concerned teachers have commented out since, you know, the talks have been, we were looking at this, and a lot of the concern is the toolbox, the teacher toolbox. There's no textbook-alike materials that might be associated with NWEA. And they utilize that to assist some of their students, you know, with the standards of North Carolina. So that's really a piece that I'm hanging with as far as that. Because if, you know, we've always taught if it can help one student, it's worth us doing that. And that's where I'm torn with that. But, you know, and then some of the other research that I've been able to do, and maybe you can help me with this, is the norm data versus criterion data. Where norm data is basically, you know, comparing them to the standard, and criterion is basically, you know, comparing them to other students. My understanding is NWEA does not have, it does criterion, is that correct?
Does normative. And just to speak to the teacher toolbox, first off, the teacher toolbox is aligned with the Ready books, which several of our schools do use those books. So the schools still have those resources. Those resources have not gone away. Just the digital part would go away. However, with NWEA, there's MAP growth, which is our diagnostic, which would be our diagnostic, and there's also MAP skills, which allows teachers to take their growth data from the benchmarks and then drill down to those discrete skills. And in order to address those skills, NWEA does provide resources. So these are vetted resources that the teachers can then assign based off of student need. So the teachers have a little bit more flexibility with the NWEA skills, because they can say, you know, if the skill is fractions, they can say, well, these are the resources that I want this student to use. There's opportunity, I would say, for more teacher involvement, whereas what we found with iReady is sometimes they just let the program run instead of intervening.
Now, is it something with the iReady system where they can go in and select a certain amount of questions where, if they progress and they master it, it takes them to another level? Or do they have to always go through 15 to 20 questions or more?
With MAP skills, which is outside of the screener itself, the teacher can go with what the program is saying, this is the student's deficit, or they can look at it and select maybe what it is they're teaching. It may not be a skill deficit, so the teacher can use it to close skill gaps for enrichment as well as for on grade level content.
And I know that my wife was in a pilot program, I think the first year, because she was at Glendale Kinley, but this is the third year of the contract, right?
This was the third year of the iReady contract, yes. This
Okay.
last year. So the contract ended, essentially.
I guess we still just have a lot of concerned teachers out there of the materials and everything. I know we had NWEA and switched to iReady, so it's kind of.
And we've come a long way. 3 years ago, the curriculum was new or newer, and we didn't have a lot of resources then. We have so many more resources now than we did 3 years ago as well. So I think we'll be okay. Yeah.
Thank you.
While Christy's here, are there any other questions about NWEA, MAP, or Lexia? Thank you, Christy. She can come back. It's okay.
Now, how new are these companies in NWEA and Alexia?
NWA's been around a long time. I'd have to give you an actual, but it's used nationwide. Several large districts use NWEA. And Lexia, it's been around, it's newer than NWEA is, but again, I'd have to look that information up to give you actual details. But we did have 2 schools piloted last year, Dixon Road and West Smithfield. And the student engagement was phenomenal with those programs, and the students saw a lot of growth. One thing, Dixon Road used it beginning in November, and I will say, because it's a literacy program, I would like to highlight that mid-year, the state actually contacted Dixon Road and identified them as one of the highest growing schools in our state. And when I talked to Mr. Bennett at Dixon Road as to what he felt contributed to that, he did feel like the support they were getting from Lexia aided in that growth. Of course, it's what the teachers are doing too, but that was one component that kind of supplemented that growth.
And just for clarification, you have NWEA and Alexia offering, they're 2 different companies offering the combined services of what iReady offers. Is that correct?
So NWEA alone would provide the support that iReady provided. But Lexia gives us additional support with literacy, because we know if we can address our literacy concerns, that's going to roll over into all the other subjects, because literacy drives your math, it drives your science, your social studies, all other core subjects.
I'm sorry, Christy, one other question. With us combining these 2 programs, do they talk to each other as far as the 2 technologies with NWEA as well as Lexia?
So the technologies themselves do not talk, but there is alignment with the NWEA data and the Lexia. So as teachers sit down to review data, because it is aligned, they're able to better triangulate their data. And the other thing I will say with NWEA is there are other instructional partners, educational partners out there that several of our schools use. These are programs that schools buy with their own monies, like Reading A to Z, that take the NWEA data. The schools are able to load that data into this program, and it gives the students and gives the teachers personalized learning plans for their students. So NWEA really isn't a standalone program. It's aligned with so much other that our schools are already using.
I guess I'm just, I was there when Mr. Mark Johnston came to Corinth Holders Elementary and walked around the iReady room, and Melissa Hubbard at the time was a principal, and just saw that and saw how it was being utilized. And so that's the only thing I can think of, and seeing it in put to use that day.
What's the transition time? Are we talking like immediately transition into
Sir.
away from iReady come a week or 2 weeks from now?
Mr. Johnson, based on the consensus that the board gave me back at the board retreat, we've already had training in NWEA MAP. We received that at our principals meeting earlier, and have started the ball moving based on the direction you afforded me that day.
And just one other point, you all did get teacher input. There's a process in our district for examining all curricular and instructional materials.
Yes, ma'am. We did a program evaluation last year in which we interviewed 30%, right at 30% of our teacher, administrative leaders, coaches, and got input.
I just want to make a comment too, and NWA is not new to Johnston County. It was used before iReady, so a lot of teachers are familiar. And we know not every teacher is going to be happy with the decision whichever way we went. And, I've heard from teachers that are glad that we're going back. There are teachers that are not. It's a difficult decision. We appreciate all the effort that you and everybody else has put into this to try and find the right programs for Johnston County Public Schools. Thank you.
So I'm not cutting off questions. All I'm asking for is a motion and a second for the contracted services, and then you can field what other questions you have on this or any other contracts that we have. So I entertain a motion on contracted services.
So moved.
Motion by Dr. Smith, second by Vice Chair Johnston. Now, if you have any more questions about any other contracted services, please field them now.
Mr. Chairman, now one other question, Christy. I apologize for you sitting down. You're going to get your exercise. In regards to the, as Dr. Smith said, you polled 30%. Were these teachers or administrators that were involved with iReady, or was it just a blanket poll where they may or may not have been using the product?
These were focus groups identified by the school. Well, part of the teachers were identified by the school. So yes, they would have had, they would be involved in using iReady or whatever the program was. But we also looked at teacher effectiveness data to pull teachers to poll as well. So it was mixed. The schools had an opportunity to give us who they wanted us to talk to, but then there were also teachers that we selected.
Thank you. Again, I can't commend you enough for all the data and research and everything you did on this project. I know it was a dueling task. I've had many conversations with you, so I thank you and your staff and everybody who was involved. Like Ms. Grant said, it's just a tough decision because if it does assist one, if we lose one student out of it, it is very disheartening, but we appreciate everything you did.
Any more questions? Dr. Smith?
I can't see, I have a new device today. Just in general, things like our hearing and our visual, our nurses, those things sometimes are our preliminary budget, and we have to come back and have additional services based on the number of children coming in with those particular needs. So this is our beginning contract.
How we will begin the year, and then if we have the growth, we would have to come back, and if we don't, then we're covered. We used last year's data and growth data to project needs for this year, and I will share with you that I checked enrollment figures this morning of the new enrollees online, and over 300 have IEPs. Now, we've not seen those IEPs, but that 300 of those new enrollees have checked that they have IEPs, so we could be coming back to the table, but we've tried our best based on the data to do a good projection, and then you just take it as it comes. You're welcome. Any other questions?
Mr. Chairman, before we vote, I would just like the record to state I'm in agreement with all of the contracts with the exception of the NWEA and Lexia.
Entertain a motion. All those, well, we've already got a motion and a second. All those in favor? All those in favor, raise your hand. All those opposed? Ms. Coates?
My next item is an update for you on summer reading camp. As you know, the general statute states that students must read at or above grade level by the end of third grade and continue to progress. So summer reading camp is our intervention that we use for our students in grades 1, 2, and 3 who do not meet that standard. So we had a summer reading camp this year, 4 weeks. Eligible first, second, and third graders, and I'll flash ahead and I'll skip this slide when I get to it, just to remind you, first and second grade eligibility is determined by below grade level on their end of year reading, below level 1 or level 1 on their M-class reading, and their Dibbles composite score of red or yellow intent. So that's how they qualify in first grade. Second grade, if they're below grade level at the end of year in reading, or if their M-class TRC level is level L or below. So the way we did summer reading camp this year, we had a whole group presentation and then worked with students in small groups. So we worked on those things that we felt were common needs for all the students there. As you can see, that was poetry and shared read aloud and writing. And then in small group, the guided reading with Fountas and Pinnell, vocabulary comprehension, phonemic awareness, and then iReady or Lexia. For the proficiency requirements, third grade students, it's different. And the way they can follow proficiency or gain proficiency in a lot of ways, and I won't read those to you, you can see those. So we work with our third grade students in summer reading camp. At the end of the year, we had 361 who had not met proficiency and did not have a good cause exemption. Of those 361, 269 attended summer reading camp. We had it at 4 sites, as you can see, Cooper, McGee's, Micro, and West Smithfield Elementary. This graph shows you the data for the students who attended. 49% that attended the summer reading camp met their read to achieve requirements, and that's really good. And again, it shows you the ways they could meet it. Those third graders who did not meet it will be placed in a 3-4 transition class beginning this school year to help them meet those needs. And I've already shared with you the eligibility requirements for first and second grade. If you look at the attendance at each of the schools, we had a large number of students attend, 376 first graders and 338 second graders. So our hope is that at the end of third grade that they will not have to be in summer reading camp, obviously. Specifically for those third grade students who did not meet the proficiency, I've already talked to you about the fourth grade transition class. This is a specially designed instruction class to help them produce learning gains so that they can meet those targets. This will vary from school to school. It could be 90 minutes of uninterrupted. It could be a minimum of 45 minutes. It could be a variety of things. But these students, the way we will track that with them is they will show retained reading level on record until they meet proficiency standards. This year we had our directors, and they are listed as you can see. And this is just an idea of what it takes to pull off summer reading camp. There's overall, our camp director, of course, was Dana Miller, 4 administrators as directors, 133 teachers, 43 bus drivers and staff members, office support. It took a lot to pull off summer reading camp. Are there any questions about that? Thank you. And the third thing that I have, I'd like to call up Miss Suzanne. Is she here? Miss Suzanne Lujan, who we are very delighted that we can accept a fire truck donation, or we're calling it a mobile lab donation.
Mobile Learning Lab.
Mobile Learning Lab donation from the Bentonville Fire Department. And we will recognize those folks at the next board meeting. They work public jobs and could not be here during the day with us today. They asked to be recognized later so that we can schedule them at the end of our board agenda. So we'll recognize them in September. Would you like to make some comments on how we're going to use that?
Well, currently, the fire truck is, Mr. Lawrence has, well, good afternoon, first of all, sorry. Mr. Lawrence has the title in hand, so as long as the board approves the donation, we'll be able to get that titled, and we will use it at both schools, Smithfield, Selma, and at Clayton. It's got some equipment on it, so we're going to have to get it outfitted with some of the equipment, because of course Bentonville took off the equipment that they would still need in their new fire truck. And our 2 instructors are very excited about using the truck in their courses for the upcoming school year. So, and we have some plans to kind of roll it out and get some media attention with Miss Roberts and her crew to celebrate this awesome opportunity for our students. And I believe that,
That's it for me.
yeah, that's it, okay. So did you have anything else, Mr. Lawrence?
I would, thanks, Ms. Lujan, for being here, and Ms. Coates for presenting this, but I will open it up for, entertain a motion for the acceptance of the donation for the Bentonville Fire Department truck.
So moved,
So
Mr. Chairman.
moved.
Second.
Motion by Butler Hall, seconded by Dr. Smith. Any questions or comments?
Just want to thank Bentonville for the partnership. This is, it really does show what happens when we see the benefit to children and the community gets involved. So we really are appreciative, and thank you for going out and soliciting that.
I think it's a true example of why we call Johnston County schools community schools. It's the communities reaching out to make a difference in student lives, and what a great example of community fulfillment and investing in our students for our future firefighters, or have an interest in firefighting and saving lives for Johnston County citizens now and in the future. But I can't say enough. I mean, I got chill bumps right now just thinking about what students are going to learn on this mobile lab as our turn. Yeah. Yeah. But but anyway, the board's very grateful, and all those in favor, all those opposed, motion carries 7-0. Thank you very much.
Thanks.
Ms. Gill.
Good afternoon, Chairman Wooten, Lady Vice Chair, members of the board, Dr. Renfro, and Mr. Lawrence. It's a pleasure to be with you this afternoon. And I have for you today 9 items, and 5 of which are for information this afternoon, and the other 5 which are for action. The first item that I have for you is Board Exhibit 6C1, which is Policy 4110 for attendance. This policy was amended in 2016, and it addresses the duty of the principals to adhere to compulsory attendance statute. The policy currently included a seat time requirement of the 91% attendance in the class to receive credit, and it does not have any references currently to dual enrolled or virtual students, as we are working towards in our JOCO 2020 initiative. The amended policy strikes the 91% seat time requirement, while adding that attendance can be counted in the form of dual enrollment and virtual options for students. This recommendation is from our Academic Innovation Department and our Policy Review Committee, and it's recommended for information today.
This is an information item. Any questions? Okay, Ms. Gill.
The next item I have is Board Exhibit 6C2, Policy 6530, School Bus Passengers. Policy 6530 relates to training and requirements for our students to be able to access safely bus transportation. State policy has recently added the requirement for principals to offer bus transportation safety initiatives each semester and to document this training and instruction for the safety of students. The policy has been amended to add this required language. It's presented as information from Policy Review Committee and the Administration and Operations Department to be in compliance. Presented for information today.
Any questions on policy 6530?
I do have a question.
Yes, ma'am.
This training can be bus to the bus or school-based. Am I correct?
Right. We would encourage, many of our assistant principals are trained in the safety aspects and take that on for the logistics of the day. So there's many ways they can comply with that. Many of them hold school assemblies. It might be class by class, but just documenting that we are indeed providing that training.
Ms. Gill, while we're talking about buses, how many, and this is just off the cuff question, see how good you are.
Oh, my goodness.
How many students currently ride the bus in our student population?
If during our next break, I will text that information to Ms. Turnage, and she will have it to you in just a moment.
Good
for her
answer.
Misty.
Thank you. Thank you, Ms.
A
Gill.
lot.
I'm just curious.
But
I
we
mean,
do have that information, and we, of course, have turned over we've just done our routing last week. The training for the bus drivers, new to us, have begun this week.
Okay.
And we have many students who are routed on the routes, but it's usually within that first 10 to 20 days that we see who's going to stay with us.
Right.
Those numbers do fluctuate. We'll route kids, and then they will choose not to ride, or indeed it changes. So we can get you more solid numbers definitely in September.
Okay.
But good numbers for today as well.
All right, thank you.
Mr. Chairman, I remember at the bus rodeo last year, I believe it was Dr. Renfro or Mike Taylor had mentioned that roughly 24 to 26,000 students ride the bus to or from school or both.
I think that was Mr. Taylor that shared that. I'd like to give him credit, but I remember him saying that. Yes, sir.
One more question.
Yes, ma'am.
Is this standardized training that is delivered in different formats, or is it just kind of up to them to say, okay, be safe on the bus, don't throw anything out the window, stay in your seat?
Right. We would certainly be providing the guidance of what it is that we would like to see in each of our bus programs with our assistant principals. Once we get this policy in place, I feel certain that that would be the direction we'd want to go.
Any more questions?
Yes, ma'am. Absolutely.
Chairman Wooten, can I back up to the attendance policy for a minute?
Jan?
So there's no listed requirement in there for the number of days anymore that a student has to attend?
Right. Under the statute, there would be certainly we would have the same number of days like our school social workers. They have to keep up with the number of days. There's the benchmarks of like 5 and 10, and it's certain particular forms that are sent home. So all those aspects have to continue, which is the requirement of doctor's notes and things like that when they're not in compliance with the laws. And then certainly if they continue to be truant, we have folks that actually have to go through our court system. So those pieces are and continue to be in place. This is simply for the course credit part of things here, and giving principals the opportunity to have students to be able to show that they have mastered content in a multitude of ways. So, in college classes, for example, many of those are blended, some seat, some virtual. So it's really more from and we had Dr. Ben Williams come in and speak with us about this as our J.C. Papa rep, about their really wanting to have the opportunity to be flexible in deciding when a student has actually mastered content. But being able to comply with compulsory school attendance is an absolute that we can't get around. Our social workers monitor that and provide reports for our principals back in the schools.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Any more questions? Okay, policy 4620.
The third item I have is Board Exhibit 6 C3, Policy 4620 related to student fees, refunds, and fee waivers. Policy 4620 relates to the way we govern fees and refunds that are assessed and are provided. The policy name has been amended to include fee waivers in the title. Further, the policy has been amended to add the principal's authority to issue a waiver for an assessed fee, and it also directs procedures related to General Statute 115C-398 in the collection of unpaid fees. It's presented for information upon the recommendation of our Policy Review Committee as well as the Department of Academic Innovation and presented for information.
Any questions? Policy 4620. Okay, thank you, Ms. Gill.
You're welcome. The next item is Board Exhibit 6C4, Policy 3455, Honors Recognition. Policy 3455 was last amended in 2015 to reflect new graduation requirements and references the use of the Latin honor system, which would come into effect in 2017-18. The policy name has been changed from Honors Diploma to Honors Recognition to utilize the method of honoring our graduates through the terms cum, and I need to defer to Dr. Smith, who pronounces this better than I do, cum laude, magna cum laude, and summa cum laude. Specifically, the language is amended in the following way. Johnston County Public Schools recognizes class rankings as one method of measuring academic performance, and in accordance with General Statute 116-1110A, high school principals shall provide a compilation of class rankings to be listed on the student transcripts. They will make rank information periodically available to students and their parents and to other institutions. And then we do have, in our policy, it does actually state what is the grade point average to have those designations. And Policy 3455 is presented as information upon the recommendation of the Policy Review Committee and the Department of Academic Innovation, and it's presented today for information.
Any questions on policy 3455? If not, Ms. Gill?
Yes. The next item I have is Board Exhibit 6C5, Policy 2510, Community Use of Schools. The Policy 2510 provides guidance regarding the use of our school facilities, and it's been amended to add a no smoking requirement that includes e-cigarettes and smokeless tobacco. It also includes the addition of a prorated refund opportunity if the facility is deemed unusable due to a natural disaster. Policy 2510, Community Use of Schools, is presented upon the recommendation of Policy Review Committee and the Administration and Operations Department, and is presented this afternoon for information.
Any questions on policy 2510, community use of schools? No questions, Ms. Gill?
The next 5 items that I have are for approval today. Policy 2021 Parent Involvement, which is Board Exhibit 6C6. Policy 2021 is our Title I Parent Involvement, which was last updated in 2005. It's been amended to eliminate references to No Child Left Behind, which now the policy should reference Every Student Succeeds Act, and the new title for the policy is Parent and Family Engagement. The revisions to the policy will bring it up to date, and it will provide new standards for parent and family engagement for not only our Title I schools, but to other schools. And upon the recommendation of Policy Review and Academic Innovation, the policy is presented today for approval.
Policy 2021 parent and family engagement is an action item. Entertain a motion.
So moved.
Motion by
Second.
Ronald Johnson, second by Teresa Grant. Any questions? If not, all those in favor? All those opposed? Motion carries 7-0. Ms. Gill?
Yes, the next item is Board Exhibit 6C7, Policy 6510, Transportation for Instructional Field Trips and Extracurricular Activities. The policy was last amended in May of 2017. However, recommended revisions incorporate language to address small group travel for field trips and extracurricular activities, and language to allow dual-enrolled and virtual students to use private vehicles or drive themselves to extracurricular activities with written approval from the principal. The language has also been provided to prohibit the use of passenger vans for small group travel on field trips or extracurricular activity due to the safety concerns with the vehicles. These revisions will provide necessary guidance for administrators when they're considering small group travel and the participation of our dually enrolled and virtual students on field trips. Upon the recommendation of Transportation Department as well as policy review, this policy is presented today for approval.
This is an action item, policy 6510, transportation. Entertain a motion. Motion by Teresa Grant, second by Ronald Johnson. Any questions?
Yes, you referenced that the private vehicle being driven could be done with the approval of the principal, but it also requires the permission of the parent.
Yes, that is an absolute given. It doesn't even pass go until that's done. Thank you so much.
Any other questions? All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion carries 7-0. Ms. Gill.
Yes, sir. The next item is Board Exhibit 6C8, Policy Code 6000 for purchasing. 6000 was last amended in April of 2004, and it's been updated to incorporate relevant parts of Policy Code 6010, purchase orders and contracts, in order to accurately reflect the compliance with the Uniform Guidance Procurement Law. The revisions to Policy 6000 include a name change to purchasing and contracts, as well as language documenting our use of a new contract administration sheet, and our directives to utilize the Uniform Guidance Procurement Law, which has already gone into effect, and we did approve this in exigent circumstances during our June meeting to go into effect. So it would formally be voted on today. In conjunction with the revisions of this policy, Policy 6010 will be deleted from the manual. It will be incorporated to be both, and it will be Policy 6000. These will provide necessary guidance for administrators and bookkeepers and document our compliance with the new law, which began July 1st, 2018. And this is recommended today for approval.
This is also an action item, policy 6000, purchasing and contracts. And motion by Vice Chair Johnston, second by Ronald Johnson. Any questions? All those in favor? All those opposed? Motion carries 7-0.
And the final item I have today is Board Exhibit 6C9, Policy Code 5100, Code of Ethics and our Standards of Conduct. Policy 5100, Code of Ethics and Standards, was adopted in 1999. However, it's been revised to include language requiring our employees to notify Human Resources when charged or convicted with crimes other than a minor traffic offense. And revisions to this policy will require self-reporting of the charges and convictions in accordance with our Johnston County Board of Education Standards of Employee Conduct. Upon the recommendation of policy review, this is presented today for approval.
This is also action item, policy 5110, Employee Code of Ethics. Motion by Teresa Grant,
Second.
second by Todd Sutton. Any questions?
I'm sorry, I just have another question. For our public's benefit, should an employee not report, we still do background checks.
Absolutely.
And that will show up. We just want this to be part of the ethics rather than a fail-safe. We have the fail-safe in your system of background checks, which are ongoing, correct?
Do you want to?
The reoccurring checks, this policy is for that. So we do not do ongoing checks for current employees.
So it would not show up.
That's correct.
I thought it would.
Now this, if you recall, this language is already in another policy. We just wanted to make sure it was very clear, so we are also adding it to another policy.
Okay. I just was under the false assumption. Sorry. Thank you.
We have talked about the ongoing checks for all school system employees. And, certainly that would be something that would be brought back to this board because that would be an additional cost for the school system with those ongoing checks.
And Brian, does other school systems do that with an ongoing, do we know if any other school systems have ongoing background checks and potentially what that cost may be?
I think some do. I'm certain that they all do not. Now, with our volunteers, we do partner with a company that does the ongoing checks because they're not employees, so they're not held to this policy. But for all of our employees, they're held to this policy of self-reporting anything other than a minor traffic offense. And again, with the checks that are ongoing, most of the companies that we're aware of that would conduct these, we're talking about North Carolina only. So there's even when you have companies that may do ongoing checks for North Carolina, and then the individual left North Carolina and something happened out of state, that's why we have this policy, because charges can occur within North Carolina, outside of North Carolina. And so if this is a direction the board want to go in, we just need to know that there will be costs for North Carolina. Do you want to just do North Carolina? Would you want to do other states? When we hire individuals, we do not employ anyone without doing a thorough background check. National, state, check against the National Sex Offender List. But once they're an employee, they're held to all of these policies that employees must comply with. Volunteers are not employees. That's the reason why we do the ongoing checks with volunteers, because they're not held to this policy to notify us of anything other than a minor traffic offense.
Any other questions?
That is all I have today.
All those in favor? All those opposed? Motion carries 7-0. Policy Committee, raise your hand. The board respects your time. Yeah, and this is only 9 policies, but you have to endure that process, and I know it takes a lot of time. And I appreciate the senior staff and all those involved with explaining these policies and going through them, Ms. Gill. And we appreciate what y'all do, and we don't take it for granted. So appreciate all your hard work. With that being said, 10-minute break. We'll reconvene our meeting with Mr. Vetrano. Welcome, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, Madam Chairman, board members, Dr. Renfro, Mr. Jimmy Lawrence. Always a pleasure to stand before you. I have one item for you this afternoon. It's an information item, Exhibit 6D1. As you know, we typically set aside some time in September to give you an in-depth update on our hiring efforts, but always like to share with you in August just some brief numbers to give you an update as far as where we are at this point, knowing that the start of school is still about 2 weeks away. We have had a very busy summer. The entire human capital team has worked diligently to try to find the most qualified individuals that we can to serve in our schools and all the positions that we have. Understand the numbers I'm sharing with you now may be different at the end of the day. In fact, I was sharing with Dr. Renfro this morning our teacher vacancy number, and Dr. Renfro has changed for the good what I'm getting ready to share with the board today. So on the certified side, we have hired 198 teachers and support staff. Additionally, we've processed 139 transfers. These are individuals who express a desire to go from one school to another school or to a different department. 402 internal transfers. These are position changes within the school. Someone may be teaching 6th grade and they have a desire to teach 8th grade, or the principal comes to them and says, I need you in this grade level. It can occur different ways. Correct. Currently, we have 48 teaching vacancies in the district. Now, if you recall, you can look at I believe it was August 8th, the board meeting last August. You can look at that video, and I stood before you and shared that we had about 70 teaching vacancies. So 70, today we're 48. One of our hiring directors told me a little while ago that she's working on 3 and might be able to offer before the end of the day. So who knows, by the end of the day it could be 45. But 48 is where we stand at this moment. As our principals have done in past years, by chance, if they still have a teaching vacancy at the start of the school year, they work very well with our retired educators and reaching out to them and asking them if they would be available until we find a permanent replacement. Also, we have wonderful substitute teachers, both certified and classified, that work with us in serving in these vacancies until we have a permanent replacement. So know that we are moving forward with filling these vacancies with a goal always being 0 on day 1, but by chance, if we do not reach that goal, we will certainly partner with our retired teachers and substitutes to make sure that when those students arrive, that there's someone there, a quality individual, to greet them and begin educating them. On the classified side, we have processed 69 recommendations for new employees and 87 transfers. So you combine certified and classified, and this summer our office has handled over 800 employment actions. And just to remind you, employment actions, many things happen behind the scenes. Not only are individuals busy on the human resources side, but on the finance side, for every person that we hire, or if someone changes a school or position, that information has to be keyed into the system as well, into the payroll system, so that those individuals are paid appropriately. So that's where we stand at this time. I'm sure I will be back in September to share some even better news with you, and I'll be glad to answer any questions that you have. But again, this is just an information item just to brief you on where we stand at the present.
How are trends for different areas, exceptional children, math, science, those kinds of things?
About a fourth of those 48 vacancies are in the exceptional children's area. About half are regular ed positions, and the other fourth are CTE and other special areas. But Dr. Smith, as we've discussed in past years, still exceptional children, math, science. Those are still areas where we do find it more difficult to find individuals who are already certified.
Is the vacancies pretty much spread out throughout the county, or is it centralized in one location?
I would say that I'm not aware of one school that has vastly higher numbers than any other. There are some differences. I mean, we have a few schools who have 0 vacancies, but I can assure you these 48 are not divided among 4 schools.
Any other questions? Thank you, Mr. Vetrano.
Sir, thank you.
Ms. Roberts?
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Board Chairman and Lady Vice Chair, members of the board, Dr. Renfro. It gives me great pleasure to provide for you some additional celebrations today, and you have your news coverage summaries and also your save the dates. I'll just highlight 2 dates in particular. Those are our convocation on August the 20th. And we hope you'll join us as well for our business sponsor recognition breakfast right before the event. And then, of course, our traditional schools start on the 27th, and our superintendent will be traveling to each of those schools to say a personal hello. So we just wanted to share that with you. And Mr. Wooten, you have your planning board documents?
I do have them right in my hand here. It was delivered to me today, and the planning board meeting, August the 21st, will be held in the courtroom number 2 instead of the commissioner's chambers due to some video issues. But there's 3 subdivisions on the map with additional 50-plus lots. So we continue to grow as a county, and obviously brings more challenges to the school system, but we're more opportunities to the school system. How about that? But anyway, thank you.
Thank you, sir. So we'll begin with our students selected for all national choir. We are still waiting on our students who will be recognized for Character Ed. And I invite Ms. Freeman to the podium with me, Ms. Sarah Freeman. Hello, Ms. Sarah. I was able to meet her over the phone. She and her wonderful, wonderful mom humored me with my former journalism, my love for journalism, so I kind of interviewed her over the phone so that I could share a few more feature items there with you. And please, we want her parents, family members, friends to know that they can come and take pictures while she's being recognized. So let me tell you a little bit about this particular honor. There were only 2 students in Johnston County who have been selected for all nationals choir, not county, not local, nationals. One of them stands before you. Her name is Sarah Freeman. She is a rising senior at Corinth Holders. I almost said elementary. I almost took you right back. Corinth Holders High School. Now, the other is Tyler Ellis. He's a rising senior at Clayton High School. And, you know, these are student leaders, so they're very, very busy this summer. He could not be with us today. He'll be with us in September, so we will honor him then. But let me tell you a little bit about Sarah. She's planning on majoring in vocal performance and possibly music education as a double major. So, you know, Mr. Vetrano's right behind you. He might want to sign you up a little early. She also tells me that earning a spot on all nationals is a, and I quote, dream come true. So not only does she have the talent, she's brought that talent to us, but hopefully Johnston County Public Schools had a little bit to do with making that dream come true. So this is a year-long effort that requires eligibility to the all-county choir, concert participation, and then an audition for all-state. Students are also required to audition for nationals and write a short essay, so they have to write as well, about their desire for earning a spot. So we are so pleased and proud to have Sarah with us for at least one more year because she's a rising senior, and we do congratulate you, Ms. Freeman, on such a well-deserved, wonderful honor. Ladies and gentlemen, Ms. Sarah Freeman.
I just think we should have planned a little more and had her sing for us today.
Wouldn't that have been nice? I did think about that, Dr. Smith. Miss Sarah, we would just like to give you a congratulatory note from your board members and from Dr. Renfro, and perhaps we can get a little copy of her, a little snippet of her singing, and we can share that. I failed to mention her parents. Miss Sarah, would you just introduce your parents? Step right here, and your principal.
So I have my mother, Jessica Freeman, my father, Mark Freeman, and my principal, Mr. Johnston. And Miss McLam, of course, my wonderful choral director, who I wouldn't have made it anywhere without.
I might lose my job, so I'm going to let Sarah handle that. Congratulations. Always a pleasure to have our students before us. Now, we'd like to recognize someone who makes it happen in the classroom as well. And I'd like for Mr. Kendall Parker, an agriculture teacher at South Johnston High School, to please join me at the podium. He's been here for quite a while. Mr. Parker, thank you so much for your patience. Mr. Parker is our East Central Region Teacher of the Year, and he was named at a recent CTE conference for that honor. And we salute him today. He was named the 2018 Agricultural Education East Central Region Teacher of the Year during a banquet held at the 2018 CTE Summer Conference in Greensboro, North Carolina. Now, he was selected for this honor by the 87 agricultural teachers in the East Central region. Mr. Parker was also presented a Teacher of Teachers Award for having 5 former students that became agricultural teachers. He is quite an influence. He has been teaching agricultural education and serving as an FFA advisor at South Johnston High School since August of 1984 for a total of 34 years. We salute Mr. Kendall Parker, and Mr. Parker, we do want to give you a moment if you'd like to say a word and also introduce family members that are here with you. Yes, sir.
Okay. Thank you for inviting me here this afternoon. I've been at South Johnston since August of 1984. I am a product of South Johnston High School. I went through South Johnston from 1976 to 1980 as a student. It's been a pleasure to work for South Johnston High School and the Johnston County school system. I enjoy it. I enjoy working with students. I always have. I believe in building friendships, relationships, and I have a lot of people say, "Why don't you retire?" And I say, well, I will miss my students. And so I built a lot of relationships in the community, and I still enjoy it. And I'd like to thank everybody for everything you do for the children in Johnston County. I'd like to recognize the following guests. First of all, Mr. William Weaver, Assistant Principal at South Johnston High School. He is one of my former students that came through the ag program. Mr. Weaver does a great job at South Johnston. Miss Suzanne Lujan, our vocational CTE director. My wife, Stephanie Parker. I'd like to thank her for supporting me all during my career. Miss Amy Cox, our CDC coordinator at South Johnston. And who else have I missed from South Johnston? Anybody? And I won't leave anybody out. But once again, thank you for having me here this afternoon. I received this honor about 2 weeks ago, and I was surprised at the CTE Summer Conference in Greensboro. But thank you for supporting the children of Johnston County.
Shake your hand starting here.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Mr. Parker? We have a letter for you as well. Thank you so much for everything you do for us. And Mr. Wooten, Dr. Renfro, members of the board, our character ed students are here. And I would like to introduce two students who are coming to us from our Career and Technical Leadership Academy and also early college. They started on August the 6th and have already shown themselves to be persons of great character. So the first student I'd like to join me at the podium is Diana Jimenez Osorio. If you will join me at the podium, Diana. I don't bite, I promise. So Diana's principal is Mrs. Sheila Singleton. She is a 12th grade student at Career and Technical Leadership Academy. Her parents are Juan Jimenez Cortez and Irias T. Osorio Reyes. Okay? And this is a little bit about Diana. She is dependable, focused, considerate, and dedicated. And these are just a few of the character traits that describe Diana Jimenez. She is a super senior. So what that means is that she is completing an additional 5th year of high school while she earns an associate's degree at Johnston Community College. She is an outstanding student. And due to her self-discipline, she's successfully managed being both a high school and college student while also working a part-time job outside of school. It's not unusual to find Diana on campus during her free moments between classes, using her time wisely for studying and completing homework assignments. She exhibits self-discipline in all of her interactions, and CTLA is proud to present Diana Jimenez as its August 2018 Character Education honoree. Ladies and gentlemen, Diana Osorio. Diana, please accept these gifts, a certificate, and we also have some headphones with, with the Johnston County Public Schools logo on them. So
nice.
please enjoy. You're very welcome. Enjoy and congratulations. Our next student comes to us from Johnston County Early College Academy. And her name is familiar to me. Her name is Maylin Norman. So Maylin, if you will come and join me at the podium. Her principal is Mr. Robert Daniels, and her parents are Reverend John Isaac and Michelle Norman. Now here is a little bit about Maylin. She is a very self-disciplined young lady who works to improve her community as well as herself. She has already volunteered to tutor as many of her peers as possible this year in math and science. I think I'll sign up. Or any other subject needed. Maylin also completed a study of standard-based grading and presented her findings to many people involved in the Johnston County Public Schools. She is a competitor within her class and within the Johnston Community College environment. She drives both herself and others to be their better selves. She is a vanguard student. When you want to try a new idea or innovative learning approach, Maylin will be the first learner to provide feedback in a constructive manner. It's not uncommon to find her studying and tutoring her peers in her college courses simultaneously. She is not just a star in the classroom. She also goes on mission trips in her spare time and works through her church to serve the South Johnston community at large. Ladies and gentlemen, Maylin Norman. Maylin, please accept these small tokens of our appreciation, and we wish you all the best. You're very welcome. Okay. Brian Vetrano will now bring our Employees of the Month.
Back again to recognize Employees of the Month for August. This is always a wonderful time for me to come before you and share some great things about our terrific and fantastic employees. First, we have Miss Lon Such. If Miss Such will please come forward and join me. Miss Such serves as a teacher assistant at Powhatan Elementary School. She was nominated by Teresa Scott, who serves as a receptionist at the school. And Ms. Scott had much to share about Ms. Such, but I'll read a few of the statements to you. Ms. Such is a team player and is always willing to help both her coworkers and students. Ms. Such has been a teacher assistant and bus driver for over 20 years. She rises very early in the mornings to ensure her bus is operational and that she's on time to pick up her students and able to get them safely to school. Ms. Such makes a choice each day to do her very best in everything she undertakes. She has a positive attitude and has a common sense approach in handling day-to-day issues. She truly enjoys her work. Ms. Such, we appreciate what you do. I wish I could capture your expression when we came out to Powhatan yesterday. It was priceless. She was so surprised. They had a staff meeting yesterday and with Mr. Kerwin, and we came out with our balloons and other items, and the expression, it was so wonderful. I wish I could show it to the board, but we appreciate what you do each and every day. Congratulations. And if you'll go around and meet each board member. Not quite finished. I shared with you yesterday we'd have some more goodies for you. So a certificate, a keychain, and a gift card. Thank you so much. It's good to see you again, too. Our Certified Employee of the Month is Miss Lauren Wattenbarger. Ms. Wattenbarger serves as a health occupations teacher at Corinth Holders High School. She was nominated by several students in our school system, And these students have much to share. Oftentimes I'll try to put the statements together so that it flows very well, but these are several different students, so I just captured different sentences. So it may not flow well, but it's all wonderful things about you, so I'm happy to share these things with the board. So these students said that Ms. Wattenberger is such a good role model and works hard every day to make sure her students have the materials they need to succeed. She is an amazing and caring teacher who makes learning fun. She's a wonderful teacher because she helps all students and meets their individual needs in the classroom. She takes the time to speak to us, finds ways to teach us, and helps us learn all the material. She's very organized and her class is very fun. She is one of the most positive and energetic teachers I've ever had. And there were several other comments, but I wanted to highlight those for you. We certainly appreciate what you do each and every day, and certainly your influence is evident in what these students had to share with us. So congratulations on being our Certified Employee of the Month.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
And for you as well, certificate, gift card, and a keychain. Thank you so much. Yep, congratulations. Thank you.
Remember that our next board meeting is September the 11th, 2018 at 2 p.m. And they will be here before you know it. Dr. Renfro.
Mr. Chairman, this time I ask that we enter into executive session for the purpose of consulting with the board attorney and to discuss personnel items in accordance with North Carolina General Statutes 115C-319 and 143.318.11, subsections A1 and A3.
Entertain a motion. Butler Hall, motion. Second by Ronald Johnston. All those in favor? All those opposed? Motion carries 7-0. 5-minute break.